A very good evening to all of you. As myself, Mohammad Yasin Baksh from Acme Academy School of Learning English, now came back again to upload the next video of the part third of the drama The Merchant of Venice, penned by or written by very well known dramatist of the world and well known poet William Shakespeare. As in the second part of the video, I have narrated Salerio had given a letter to Bassanio. Having read the letter, Bassanio started his journey to Venice to save his best friend's life because he was in the clutches of Shylock, a great conspirator who made a conspiracy against Antonio to kill him. Now that was the chance to Portia. As Bassanio and Gratiano left the palace of Belmont after accepting Portia to his wife Bassanio, and Gratiano accepted his wife to Narissa, and both they left the palace. Now as they departed from there, Portia remarked here that she wanted to spend her time in the absence of his beloved husband Bassanio in convent church, and she planned to reach Venice to save Antonio's life. And as in the last part second video I have narrated there that Portia sent Balthazar to his cousin brother Valerio to ask some advice how to save Antonio's life in the clutches of Shylock, the conspirator. Now Shylock planned something in a very sharp mind against Antonio because he hated Antonio very much. There is the stories behind this of his hating, that first Antonio belonged to Christianity, and the second cause of his hating that Antonio got down the rate of interest in Venice city because he gave the money to the needy ones without charges any single pi of interest. Now in the way, when Portia and Narissa started his journey, their journey to Venice city, they met Balthazar, and Balthazar handed over the uniform as a clerk, and as a learned lawyer, Portia disguised as a learned lawyer and Narissa as her clerk, and both they reached to Venice in the court of Duke. When they reached there, before their reaching, the Duke and the other ones requested many times to Shylock to show mercy towards Antonio, to pardon him, and he could accept 3 times or 4 times or even 10 times amount what he had given to Antonio as a debt amount. But the same thing, Shylock refused anything, and he demanded only justice. Now Portia appeared and handed over the letter of Valerio to the Duke. As Duke read the letter, he permitted to Portia to start the case to save the life Antonio, and Portia was now from the side of Antonio, came there. As Duke remarked, Shylock and Antonio to came forward, stand forth, and Portia started. First, Portia appealed Shylock to show mercy, and she gave a very tremendous and a splendid speech towards the Duke to Shylock to be a merciful towards Shylock and pardon him, except times or even 10 times of amount what he had given as a debt amount to Shylock. But Shylock demanded only justice, and he remarked here to Duke that he didn't came to the court to listen the preach and the speeches of others. He only demanded justice here, and he begged justice. Now Portia again appealed to Shylock that mercy is a divine quality, and if you would show mercy towards other, then God would show mercy towards you, and it's a double blessing for whom who gives it and for whom who takes it. All these things Shylock listened very carefully without any intervented or prevented in it, but at last he remarked and demanded justice. As it was mentioned in the bond that if Antonio fails to pay back the money within 3 months, then Shylock have a right or permission to cut 1 pound of flesh from his body near his heart. Now Portia and Duke and the other ones tried to console, to just to change the mind of Shylock, and any how Shylock would accept the amount to pardon Antonio. But all these things went in vain, and nothing could happen in favor of Antonio. Now at last Portia told Antonio that he was ready or not for giving the penalty as he had signed in the bond. Antonio agreed in affirmative, and Shylock became happy hearing noticed it or saw it. Now Shylock was sharpening his knife to cut 1 pound of flesh from Antonio's body, as Portia again prevented Shylock to move forward or ahead, and remarked there that please call a surgeon so that the disease should be covered up by bandages of Antonio's body, so that the life of his could be saved. At this remark, Shylock answered in a very rude manner to Portia that this was not mentioned in the bond to call a surgeon. Now Portia remarked that if you would cut 1 pound of flesh from his body, then it's assured or obviously that the blood would be shed from his body, and now he will die. And to made a conspiracy against any Christian in Venice city, it was against the law of Venice laws. If you would accept the penalty, it means you made a conspiracy against Antonio. Now Shylock became totally confused and puzzled what this happened. Then Portia remarked there to Shylock to move ahead and cut 1 pound of flesh from Antonio's body near his heart, and he is free to do this. But there should not shed of any single drop of blood from his body, because it was not mentioned in the bond, as there is no mention in the bond to call a surgeon. Now it was a chance of Portia to turn the whole case in favor of Antonio, and Shylock puzzled totally. Now Shylock demanded 3 times of amount as a penalty, but Portia prevented him that he would rejected or he reject in past before Duke that he would not accept anything except penalty. Now Bassanio offered Shylock 10 times or after that 3 times amount to accept, but Portia prevented both of them not to give any single rupee to Shylock because Shylock had rejected to accept any rupee in comparison of penalty. Now Portia explained the law of Venice before Duke, and Duke ordered or asked Shylock what would happen. Now Shylock pardoned, and he was prepared to even leave his principal amount what he had given to Antonio. Now that was the chance to Portia. Portia again remarked before Duke that because of Shylock made a conspiracy against a Christian in Venice city. Now the law of Venice said here or announced here that those who would make any conspiracy against Christian, his half property would go to whom against whom the conspiracy was made, and the half property would go to the state. Now Antonio remarked here in the between conversation of Duke and Portia that if Shylock would accept to give his half amount to Lorenzo, with whom his beloved daughter Jessica escaped away from here and married, then he would give some mercy and would show some mercy towards Shylock, and half property would go to the state. Now Shylock agreed for everything, and he remarked there before Duke that he was not feeling well. He wanted to go to his home or palace. The paper would be sent to him there. He would sign all the documents or the papers what would be the order of the Duke. Now Portia and Narissa, having won the case in favor of Antonio, they started to leave from there. Then Bassanio called them behind and begged them to accept 3,000 ducats as a fee charge because they saved his best friend's life. Portia refused to take any single rupee as a fee amount, but again and again Bassanio begged them, requested them to take something as a fee amount for remembrance. Then Portia remarked there she wanted the ring of Bassanio's finger and Antonio's gloves. At first Bassanio rejected to give her the ring of his finger because he made a promise to his beloved wife Portia not to depart this ring from his finger anyhow or any condition. He can't give it to her. Next, Portia remarked there Bassanio that this is the showing of Bassanio that first he just shows here how to beg, and after that he shows that how to answer with the beggars. Now Antonio requested to Bassanio to give to the ring to Portia, and Bassanio departed the ring from his finger and handed it to Bassanio to give it to Portia. Grescenio ran after Portia and Narissa and reached near them and handed over the ring to Portia. Then Narissa demanded the ring of Grescenio's finger. Anyhow, Grescenio had to give that ring to Narissa and they departed. Narissa and Portia wanted to reach Belmont City before reaching Bassanio, Grescenio, and Antonio, and they moved ahead to reach there. The servant of Portia announced and informed Jessica and Lorenzo that Portia would come soon in the palace. They started the enthusiastic manner to welcome Portia and Narissa. As Portia and Narissa reached Belmont, first they requested to to Jessica and Lorenzo not to say anything about their leaving of Belmont Palace, and Jessica and Lorenzo promised for it. After some time, Grescenio, Antonio, and Bassanio reached to palace of Belmont in Portia's house. As Narissa saw the finger of Grescenio that the ring was missing, they started quarrel, and Narissa just quarreling with Grescenio and claimed to him that he handed the ring to another woman. Grescenio swore it that he didn't give the ring to another woman, but he did give the ring to the clerk of the learned lawyer who was with the lawyer who saved the life of Antonio. Now, at this condition, when the noise of their quarreling, of fighting between Grescenio and Narissa, Portia appeared there and asked the reason of their fighting or arguing with each other. Narissa remarked and informed Portia that the ring was missing in Bassanio's finger. Then Portia, in a very proud manner and in a very confident manner, remarked to Narissa that she is sure that his husband Bassanio didn't depart the ring from his finger anyhow or at any condition, even anyone demanded it. Now, as Portia noticed that the ring was missing from Bassanio's finger, she started arguing with him. Bassanio tried to console and soothe her how he had to give the ring to the learned lawyer who saved the life of his beloved friend Antonio. At last, Antonio intervened in the arguing of them and explained everything what had happened in the court. Portia went inside with Narissa, and they both again handed the ring of the same as it was given before by Portia and Narissa to Bassanio and Grescenio. Having seen the ring very deeply and carefully, Bassanio remarked here, "It was the same what you did give me to before." Then Portia showed the letter of his cousin brother Valerio and explained and opened the secret of her reaching to the Duke's court and everything what had happened in the court of Duke was totally opened, and Shylock was defeated here in his trap or conspiracy. On the other side, everyone was happy. Jessica was happy with Lorenzo. Portia was happy with Bassanio. Narissa was happy with Grescenio. And one more important thing, as Portia announced before Antonio that his all ships had come safe and sound, and they completed their business successfully. Having listened this news, Antonio became very happy and remarked there that in this earth Portia was really a goddess who saved the life, and informed him a true news and a good news to him. And on the other side, Shylock defeated, and he accepted his defeat. Antonio handed over the paper to Jessica and Lorenzo, what Shylock had signed, to give it to these half property of his to his beloved daughter Jessica and her husband Lorenzo. And now this time the drama, The Merchant of Venice, ended in a very happy mood or sound. Thanks to all of you.